right, so what you're hearing here is what was happening yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, outside on Sherbrooke Street between Stanley and Peel. What had started off as a Palestinian protest against the federal government, which was supposed to be in front of Mark Miller's office, which is down the street, eventually found its way, for no apparent reason, in front of a restaurant named Zante, which had customers sitting on the terrace enjoying their meals, which didn't seem to matter to the protesters whatsoever. The owner of that restaurant, Costa, and by the way, full disclosure, Costa is someone I know. He is a friend, was there. He owns the place and tried to calm things down. It didn't quite work out. So first of all, let me go to Costa on the line. He is there, as is Leslie Roberts, who is the city councillor for that district, and Peter McGill, right in the heart of downtown. Costa, let me start with you, and thank you for coming on. I know this has been difficult for you as well. Just so people understand, once this happened, right, you didn't just go out and to start hassling anybody. What happened when this first happened?
First of all, hi, Aaron, and hi, Leslie. Nice speaking with you. Thank you for the invitation. I just want to clear something up right away because I've been getting a lot of calls, and like good and bad. This has nothing to do with the Palestinian people. It has nothing to do with the Palestinian protest. It had to do with people that weren't respecting other people. That's all. That's all it was. So basically, I get to work. The manifestation or the protest is beginning next door to us, and our buildings are attached to Mark Miller's office and our hotel. I'm in the County Hotel. They're attached. So as I get to the restaurant, I have tables outside. They're playing their music, beating their drums, whatever, waving their flags. That's fine. But they're also doing it in front of my entrance. So I move to the first gentleman that I say, excuse me, do you mind moving over just a few feet? Because I have people coming in, and you guys are kind of in the way. It's interfering with the business. So he sends me to F off, number one. I asked him again politely, and I said, listen, man, if you guys are on my door, it's affecting people can't get through. Please move to the side. Okay. F you and your effing business. So at this point, I crossed a few feet over. The police officers were standing. I called them over. I said, listen, I'm the owner of this place. Can you please ask the protesters to move over a few feet because they're interfering with my business? They asked, this is yours? Yes. They go to the protesters, they moved them 6 inches, Aaron. 6 inches is not even like 1 square on a sidewalk, you know what I mean? And they stayed there, the police stayed there, they put a plastic line, you can't pass. Then they went in front of a tree in front of the restaurant that's directly in front of my door, put up a Palestinian flag. Meanwhile, my phone is ringing because customers are going down the street, they're seeing all this, and they're telling me, we can't make it tonight, I'm sorry, I see there's a little bit of a problem on your street. We'll see you next time, sorry, Costa. Fine. Okay. The cops, they stay there. And I asked the police officer, I said, can you please ask them to move towards the middle of the block that way? And this is where they were last year. And it was fine because last year they came again and they protested in front of the building. But the police had them move to the corner. They were there. We could hear them, no problem. And we operated normally. Not an issue. In this case, the police told me that they can't move them to the corner. And I said, but why? They said, because this is an espace public, the sidewalk. I said, I understand that. But there's also interfering in my business. They have rights. First of all, he said, they have the right. It's a charter right. I understand that. I'm not against their right. But can they practice or like do their right just down the street for me, like a few feet over so they don't interfere in my entrance? They said, I can't ask them to move that. I said, okay. So they stuck around in the front a little bit. Maybe a couple of hours go by. Nothing has stopped. They keep coming towards my side. I'm not saying anything. No problem. They're going back and forth, but always at the line. And then they're trickling over later on in front of my terrace with loudspeakers, screaming into the restaurant and around everywhere. We're talking about loud 2-3 megaphones going off. And I go to the people and go, guys, please go to your side and stop. Please go to your side and stop. You don't need to be here. They didn't want to hear anything about that. And that's when I went with the water hose, and that's what happened. Okay. I didn't want that to happen, but it's the only way I could get them to move. And not only that. Yes.
No, I was going to say, I saw the video. You had customers on the terrace trying to have dinner at that time.
Of course. And not only did I only have those customers, I had a few customers inside. Yeah. But I also had almost 80 reservations and ended up serving only like 25 people last night.
Costa, I want to get to Leslie because I reached out after I heard this yesterday. Leslie, first of all, thank you for coming on. I know you know the story here. I also have an idea that you've been talking to the police, so You've seen the video. Nothing was done in this case. And I guess to Costa's question, why is that? What did the police tell you with respect to why no one was stopped? Because it seems to me this pretty quickly crossed the line from a protest to harassment.
I asked the same question as Costa, and I also do see this as not a cause issue. This is a respect for fellow Montrealers issue. And I'm disappointed that it had to go the way that it did. And I've reached out to both the commander for the district as well as the police chief with questions. And I think it might be, and this is how I'm figuring it, because I not only heard from Costa, I heard from residents in and around the area who for hours heard megaphone screaming and drums. And normally when there's a protest downtown, and you know there's one, if not weekly, bi-weekly, and they move along. And when I'm assuming, because Costa's filled in some of the blanks for me here, they asked them to move along. They moved along 6 inches because, as I was told, it was a sit-in, a 24-hour sit-in as opposed to a protest.
That's right.
Clearly, if every protest, every sit-in, there's got to be a line. And that line, when it's crossed, is when the people who are holding this protest have to be told to back off. They've gone too far. Move on, whatever the protocol is with the officers who were there. Now, I feel for Costa because not only was he told to F off, they started throwing political slurs at him. They started to accuse him of things that were unfair and crossed the line. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Costa, but it was only when you brought the hose out that the police actually went to you and said, please don't do that. They didn't intervene to try and stop these people from hurling insults and intimidating you.
At all. And right? You know what? I feel for the officers, Leslie. I got to be honest. I could see it. They feel like their hands are tied. I think I see that with them. They're like,
okay.
My question is the councilor who represents that area. I'm your voice, Costa, and I will tell you that my question is, why are their hands tied? When it's clear that every protest has a line, and when it's crossed, and from the video that was shared, I saw it crossed.
What was the answer to that, Leslie? What did the police say to you as to why nothing did happen?
I haven't had the answer yet, Aaron.
Okay.
Leslie, there's like repercussions to everything that happened. This happened on Tuesday. On Wednesday, yesterday, when I got here, I parked in front of the restaurant to unload some produce, and I was again swarmed by these guys, and I was forced to defend myself on the terrace.
Yep.
So, and then the officers intervened again. And, yes, they were calling me like a baby killer, a pro-genocide, and it has nothing to do with that. Like, I have nothing to do with that.
This is one of the biggest weeks, if not the biggest week for people like you, Costa. Am I right?
Well, absolutely. The whole city is,
And this is the week where Montreal is in the spotlight. This is the week that for many people is do or die, whether it's their livelihood or even if they're in the residency area. I don't understand why it was allowed to go on.
Okay, none of us understand why, and we understand obviously that it's hard for everybody, but especially since when do you have the right to block an entrance to a business and not be told to move?
But the whole street of the sidewalk on Sherbrooke was completely blocked. You couldn't get through. Pedestrians were going in the street to go around them.
Costa, if you were to put massive plants out on the street to make your place a little more green, I mean, there are bylaws you have to follow. You would probably be told it's blocking the street. I don't understand why they weren't told that they're blocking the street. Why didn't police say you have to move along?
Okay.
Hold
on, guys. I have to wrap this up because I'm going to go late. Leslie, I appreciate you, as I said, coming on, and you seem to be, asking the same questions we are, but not getting any answers from police. So what's the eventual sort of play here?
I'm waiting for answers. I'm hoping, and this is what I'm hoping, that this is the opportunity to define the line based on the last few days, so that the rest of the weekend will not be affected. I'm hoping common sense prevails.
Well,
this is what I want, just common sense.
Guys, I'm going to have to leave it at that. Costa, I thank you. Leslie, thank you very much. We're going to follow up on this because, as you said, it's a busy week. It's the busiest week in the city. This can't be allowed to keep happening, whether it's this business or any other business. And for the police not to provide answers at this point to a city councilor is perhaps even more troubling. Guys, thank you both. Appreciate it.
I'm Luke Wilson. Join me each week for Film Never Lies. Since retiring from the NFL, I've had a lot on my mind, and now I've got my own show. So if you're tired of lazy takes, if you want honest conversations, join us each week. Film Never Lies, available on all TSN platforms and the iHeartRadio app.